We're here because of a shooting that we had, a mass shooting that we had at the Inland Regional Center.
This program is not meant to scare you.
Turn off the lights and lock the door.
It is meant to prepare you.
She was an innocent victim of an evil act of violence.
It is meant to educate you.
Because he was going to end his life and take all the cops and everybody with him.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
It is meant to teach you how to be safe. If you can't flee for some reason, hide. Hide anywhere out of sight of the shooter, a janitor's closet, in something, under something, anywhere out of sight. There are many types of stories a journalist will report throughout his or her career. They can be heroic, they can be inspirational, or, as in the case of this program, they can be tragic. I've been doing this for a lot of years on local TV news and network news since my early 20s, and I love it. But there is one type of story I personally hate to talk about: school shootings and or terror attacks. No doubt almost all of you have seen these stories on the news. The purpose of this program is simple: to take the power out of the hands of the school shooter and or terrorist and put it into your hands. Much of their power comes from your lack of preparedness. After this program, you will be prepared to guard yourself against these hateful acts.
And multiple rounds of ammunition, had he not intended to use those rounds of ammunition to injure multiple people.
The sheriff is now vowing never to speak the shooter's name again.
In my opinion, deserves no notoriety and certainly no celebrity.
We'll talk more about this kind of thing ahead, but clearly there can be several different reasons for these shooting sprees, and we're going to look at them in this special program and talk about specific ways you can protect yourself. So here's the plan of what we're going to do in the minutes ahead in this program. We're going to break things down into 3 parts. The first we'll call the understanding section. Here we'll give you some understandings and suggestions, even things you can specifically do to help prevent these tragedies. Then we'll move on to the advice section. Here we'll briefly learn about the typical profile of a shooter, whether a student in school or a terrorist. This won't be about the religious motivations that can sometimes be behind these attacks, rather the mindset of the active shooter. And probably one of the most important parts of this program, you will learn specific ways to protect yourself in the event you find yourself in an active shooter situation. And finally, the help section. Here we'll talk about help someone might be able to get before they decide to go on a shooting spree. Hear about how to deal with major personal problems, even thoughts of suicide. All the while, we're going to use real TV news footage we've used on this program and that has been used on many other news programs. Footage shown around the world. We'll go right inside these tragedies, all for the singular purpose of you being better prepared if you are
With him.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Another profile involves people who believe they are performing a religious act of some sort. They are not all people from a particular religion, but a very small radicalized faction. But overall, there is no personality type. You might think the weird crazy kid is the one who would do something like this, or anyone from a particular religion, but that is not true. Someone's religion does not brand them a terrorist, and being the quote-unquote weird person at work or school does not make them a shooter.
This kid, by all accounts, didn't exhibit the warning signs of mental illness.
They were happy. Yeah. They were great parents.
The very real-looking replica assault rifle that this subject was carrying.
Now, I want to get very specific and move on to ways you can protect yourself in the rare event that you find yourself in the middle of a shooting. I want you to get these things in your head about ways you can protect yourself. First, more than anything, remember 3 words: flee, hide, and barricade. Flee, hide, barricade. Flee, hide, barricade. Let's take number 1, flee, because if you can, the first thing you should do, if you can't see the shooter and the shooter can't see you, run, flee, get out of there. If you hear gunshots, run away from the sound, not toward it. Now, under the flee column, make sure you know every exit. Make it your task. From teachers' entrances to loading docks to main entrances, know where all the exits are and run to the closest one. And keep running. Just get out of there. Next, get in your head now. Don't freeze. Run. Sometimes we get freaked out and we just freeze, but that is the wrong thing to do. Run, flee. And finally, under this flee column, if you see the shooter, never talk to him or her. Even if it's a friend, don't try to be a hero at this point and talk them down. Again, just run. Get out of there so the police can do their work when they arrive. Next, let's go on to hide. If you can't flee for some reason, hide. Hide anywhere out of sight of the shooter, a janitor's closet, in something, under something, anywhere out of sight. Now, under the hide column, avoid windows. If there are windows where you're hiding, stay away from them.